What's up, guys? It's good to be back on the Metal Nerd Radio Show. How's it going, peoples? Men and women everywhere in the metal community. What the fuck is up? Horns up. Yeah, guys, it's been a while again. A lot going on. I changed up my setup. Once it was ready, I'd get episodes together. And actually, a lot has been going on. So, some of it takes a little bit more research and deserves a little bit more nuance and intricacy. So it's kind of taken a while to get a lot of that stuff together, Yeah, so for instance, Danzig is in some trouble. So Danzig is currently playing a handful of West Coast shows, and for whatever reason, his merch is kind of racist. Numerous Danzig fans have pointed out Danzig's use of the Sonnenrad, or Sun Wheel, or Black Sun on t-shirts and posters available at his shows. To quote the Anti-Defamation League about the symbol, it's a number of ancient European symbols appropriated by the Nazis in their attempt to invent and idolize Aryan Norse heritage. Yeah, pretty crazy, guys. Just to kind of totally use this symbol and not even really think about it. He hasn't commented yet on it, which is kind of concerning. So it's not exactly a good look, and apparently the extreme right-wing racists are already welcoming him as one of their own. He might want to respond and say something about this merch right here. So it's like the symbol with all the fucking little zigzags going in it. Pretty crazy stuff. He hasn't replied, and I don't know, it's I've noticed a lot of stuff going on and just in this community in general. People are catching on. They're not happy. Rugfeed kind of describes it best, so I'll let him take it for a minute.
It was unfortunately a controversy that even overshadowed Danzig's performance, happening on March 29th at the Kia Forum. This was a poster and a t-shirt that led to backlash online. The shirt featured the Black Sun symbol, which is a symbol tied to Nazi Germany, and fans in attendance quickly recognized the design and called it out on social media. A lot of people calling Danzig a Nazi over this. Now, in one viral message from a fan, they wrote, "Can't spell Danzig without an idea of how swift the backlash has been." Now, another user said that Danzig wouldn't be able to say that this was merely an ancient pagan symbol. They say that this is flatly Nazi shit. And there have been people who are defending this online, saying that the Black Sun also appears in pagan, esoteric, or satanic symbolism. But it's unclear what any of this means because Danzig has not responded to it. And that is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of symbols like that around that kind of just float around that people use, like the cross, the Iron Cross. I believe it's a motorcycle symbol too, but yeah, I mean, it's been used enough, especially in Nazi symbolism, and there's just this kind of indifference about it in like the metal scene, and I don't really like that. I mean, I don't know if I'd go as far as say he's a Nazi. Maybe he didn't really think about what he's doing, but there's definitely like just this attitude of maybe just not caring or just pretty much endorsing Nazi behavior, I mean, I doubt he goes to actual KKK rallies or has a neo-Nazi group or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's still concerning, But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of stuff like that around the community, so a couple of years ago, even Metallica caught some shit. But I couldn't find the video, like the actual video that this girl posted on TikTok. I think she finally just like deleted it. It was getting a lot of backlash for it because, I mean, people just didn't care that, there's some of this stuff in Metallica. So,
okay.
This band is ancient, so let's just jump straight in because it's going to be very, very long. First, there's this picture of Hetfield and Ulrich doing a Nazi salute.
Not a good
More
picture.
recently, Hetfield plays on this guitar that contains iron crosses. And if you...
Yeah, I mean, there's some correlation there. Nick Doctor's about to kind of be like, it's a stretch, but I mean, if you're doing the Sig Heil and then you have that symbol, and then there's just other things that kind of happen throughout your career. Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about how things like coincide together, not so much about any singular thing.
Okay, the guitar is a bit of a stretch. I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna try to be unbiased. The picture doesn't look the best. I mean, that's the thing. Also, this shit's very old, right? Like, you know, doing the stash with the Heil. Not the best look on Metallica. Fine. And this is important because this is much more recent. And I'm not saying it's good to do stupid racist-y things in the past, but it's just like bit of a different time. And yeah, not good, but it would be much more problematic if
yeah, there's more stuff too about him. I think, you know, cussing out. I think it was a good African American guy using some racist language. Yeah, he used like racist type language against an African American fellow back in the day. So, I mean, apparently, allegedly, you know, there's some reports about that too.
This was like modern Hetfield, you know, with like a straight up swastika on his guitar. You guys know what I mean? Am I out of line saying that? I feel like that's actually, I'd say, like, okay, that's probably not good. Like, that's way more out of line. Wait till she sees Pantera. Oh my god. You know where I know that symbol from Day in Defeat. Yeah, like that's where I kind of know what that symbol kind of looks like, but also it's like, and it's a cross, right? This is a fucking stretch. So this I think is kind of stupid.
And if you don't know, iron crosses are neo-Nazi.
You know where I know that symbol from Day in Defeat. Yeah, like that's where I kind of know what that symbol kind of looks like, but also it's like Field doing the stash with the
long. First, there's this picture of
Again, this is important because this is much more recent, and I'm not saying it's good.
It's right there. Okay, let's move on from this part.
The fact that he hung out with Kerry King, this Aryan Brotherhood looking motherfucker right here, who is obviously very proud to be wearing a Confederate flag.
That's such a stretch. Yeah, there's a picture with Hetfield, which he kind of looks like he's, first of all, drunk out of his fucking head, hanging out with Kerry, if that's Kerry King. I did not see that. Wearing whatever, a Confederate flag. Not the best in modern days to wear that.
I mean, it's the correlation, right? It's the fact that you see this other person in the male community that's also wearing something of a sort of racist symbol as well. And it just, I mean, there's definitely just this repetitive thing that's going on in the community. So it's just kind of like, it's tough when all this stuff starts to kind of come together and you're like, I mean, he's saying any singular thing, one of these things. It's like, oh, it's a stretch, that's a stretch, that's a stretch, you know. But, I mean, when you put them together as one and think about just the symbolism, the Nazi symbolism, think about the symbolism, the Nazi symbolism that is popping up in mostly old school heavy metal, but, you know, just in, you know, in general in the male community, and it's not cool. It's not something I'm liking to see at this point.
Sure. Again, picture taken from what, 20?
Their former members doing a Nazi salute and march.
That's not the best, maybe. Don't know how the video is. It looks fucking stupid. It kind of does look like the Nutcracker, actually, in a weird way. Again, sure, could that be... That could be much more construed as maybe that than whatever the fuck she's going with some of these things.
Supposed to join us on the tour. He said, I don't want to share my stage with a N-word.
And that story's even corroborated by Axl Rose himself.
Before Before the show ended, though, Rose got in a few verbal licks at GNR's one-time tour mates Metallica, especially lead singer James Hetfield, whom Rose called a racist. Apparently because Axl blames Hetfield for keeping Ice-T and Body Count off last year's GNR Metallica tour.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this one for a second. So first of all,
oh yeah, the one with Ice-T, his band. So apparently he said something about Ice-T and called him an N-word. That's what happened. Eesh. I mean, when you put this stuff together, man, it doesn't look good. Like, he's kind of scrambling to defend him at this point, but yeah, I don't really care about his take at this point. I think he keeps just saying the same things. It's a stretch, you know, but honestly, dude, it's not a stretch when you put it all together, man. If you want to go to each one of these issues he points out and try to pick them apart by just themselves, sure, you could just look at that, any one of those things, and feel like, okay, it's a stretch. But like I said, put them together. Racism is what you kind of come out to conclusion to, especially like just throughout the scene. You know what I mean? There's other people wearing these symbols that are racist. And, you know, I think the thing is that I think people kind of have an idea of racism to where it's like, okay, this guy's wearing a fucking hood in his spare time, or he's, you know, going to Nazi rallies or whatever. That's like the be-all racist, right? But, I mean, people who are racist don't really do those sort of things. Like I have a family member that's racist, right? And he, it's more of like just comments by comments, you know what I mean? Just things that they say to kind of degrade another race, but they do it so casually and then just move on. And I think that's a thing, it's just the casual nature of racism. That's kind of like the biggest problem of it, actually, because, I mean, these people that are overtly racist, you can just be like, okay, they're racist. You know, fuck them. They're, you know, at a KKK rally or whatever, you know. But there's people that just say things. They don't necessarily do things. They, you know, it's just a matter of just degrading somebody bit by bit. They can overall come out and say, oh, I'm not racist, and believe they're not racist. I mean, there's a lot of white people out there that just don't believe that they're racist, right? Even though they are, you know? And not just white people, but, you know, okay, there's a lot of people in general out there that are racist, that do it casually, and don't even acknowledge the fact that they're racist. You know, they think the way they're acting is fine, you know, and that's the thing about it. That's the whole casual nature of racism is the problem, you know? Not just, you know, obviously we see these Nazis on the fucking street, you know, marching in the streets nowadays, which is, it's crazy, it's scary, but that's not just the main problem there, you know. I think a lot of the way the things that have happened in this world is just because of the casual not caring about it, you know, just being indifferent about it, and, you know, low-key maybe endorsing it. You know, I mean, there's other people like Alex Terrible. He used to have like a black sun tattoo as well. And, you know, he said things about trans people, you know. Yeah, but he claims not to be racist, you know, even if he says some stuff. He says, I've never been racist. Actually, in Russia, there was a huge wave of right-wing guys who had these hard times with people from other regions, poor people from the mountains. People start coming to the big cities, for example, Moscow, and they start doing gang shit. And they're screaming, we're from the mountains, being fucking crazy. Slavic people, white people, they start to realize what the fuck is going on. I don't like this. And they start being part of the right wing, like, hey, we're going to fuck you up. But yeah, dude, I mean, saying he was hanging out with Russian white ring people, you know, that they share interests. They hit the gym. They hit MMA gym. They read books about Mein Kampf. No, just kidding. But yeah, it just seems like, you know, he's kind of trying to say that these people are like mildly racist, you know, but, you know, that's cool with me. You know, I'm gonna hang out with them anyway, and I'm gonna get this fucking tattoo just to be fucking stupid and not care, you know. So I like I said, you know, I think it's just the casual nature of it, and it's popping up in metal, and I really just don't like it. Like, kind of sucks. Yeah, and it's crazy. Some stuff is going on in Australia. I think Parkway Drive is from there, but. Yeah, there's definitely some things going on. There's Hitler salutes, white supremacy slogans, and symbols of hate. Insiders say Nazi bands have become an open secret within Australia's metal scene as fans prepare for the return of a major international event, Knotfest, next month. So, yeah, we'll go down. Yeah, so they're kind of using Scafus, this metal band, as an example of things that they've kind of dealt with. So they've been together almost 10 years. During that time, its members say they've glimpsed the dark side of the metal scene in Australia. We were supposed to play a certain gig around September, members of Scafus told Hack. Out of coincidence, a fan of ours discovered that one of the bands on the bill had very clear signs of being pretty fash, an abbreviation for fascist. Ultimately, Scafus decided to pull out to make a statement. And he said, fascism shouldn't have a place in metal and shouldn't have a place in the Melbourne scene or anywhere. The stance that would set off a chain of reactions that would expose the band to fierce backlash. Metal fans in Australia prepare for the return of a major international event, Knotfest. So an investigation by Triple J Hack suggests the situation the members of Scafus say they found themselves in is neither isolated nor unusual. Insiders say that the white supremacy and so-called Nazi bands become an open secret within the metal scene in Australia. They say National Socialist black metal, known as NSBM, is an established subgenre, and that while the movement is mainly underground, with many NSBM events, backyard gigs, or invite-only, there have been times where a Nazi band has played at a mainstream Australian venue. Independent scholar in musicology and the ethnomusicology Dr. Ben Healer studies the black metal scene closely. Damn, okay. Intricate, get a fucking doctor to come study our scene. That's pretty dope. Through his research, he says he has described major bands in the Australian scene that have some pretty out there and racist beliefs. Metal likes to pretend it's not political, but National Socialist black metal is kind of a known genre. He said, and he adds, trying to distinguish between what are authentically held beliefs and was just a joke, as bands accused of peddling hate speech sometimes declare can make it difficult to hold groups to account. Any kind of discrimination or hatred dressed up as a joke is still just discrimination and hatred, says Dr. Healer. Whether they're joking or not, you're normalizing that kind of material. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was just saying. He adds that while some bands use overtly fascist iconography and references, many others use code language, in part to give themselves plausible deniability if challenged. Yeah, so it's really more of like a dog whistle, right? It's really more of just kind of saying this thing and like pretending it's something else, So yeah, that's like some of the symbolism. There it is again. The black sun again. Yep. So they, of course, they talk about it again. So they have band lyrics that reference Sig Runes, also known as SS, which was the Nazi organization that carried out some of the worst atrocities in World War II. Some of the lyrics say, as a deep mirror seen as the black sun, 12 Sig Runes, sharp as knives. After seeing these symbols incorporating the music of Ignis Vigiana, Scapus notified the promoter to raise its concerns. Ultimately, the gig was scheduled to go ahead as planned, promoting the Scafus decision to pull out. Prompting. They can say what they want, but we don't have to play with gig with them. We don't need to give them a platform. Later, however, the venue opted to can the whole event. In response, Scafus members said their social media accounts started blowing up. Fallout then and there, the headline act, Misery, sent Scafus to bed, blaming them for the canceled event. Scafus replied with a specific reason he pulled out. And basically, the response we got from him was, we don't care if you have beliefs or values if you're uncomfortable with things. The only thing we care about is music, and we'll play with anyone. They think that people should be able to say the most offensive, obscene bullshit and get away with it. Because metal's about being tough, but that's not what free speech is. It's not freedom from consequences. In the statement, Misery told Hayek that bands play for their love of heavy music, playing live to everyone, including excluding no one. Concerning the issue of Nazism, we have never endorsed it or condoned it, sympathized with it, or done anything else with it, period. See, otherwise is blatant lie and false allegations, slanderous and defamatory. People who know our character and our reputation is cemented in our 33-year history of playing death metal. Yeah, the issue is now dead to us, Rizri said. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, you know. It's just something that's, it gets gone on, and just the whole scope of things, you know. Yeah, pretty crazy, man. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just random, you know. It's something that's just going on. It's a plague, quite frankly, in our community. But, you know, that's the gist of it. I'm hoping that we start to see less of that and people fucking smart up and just stop doing it, you know? If you know it's associated with that, just don't do it, man. It's the best thing to just not do it. You know, I know you could acknowledge in your head, yeah, this stood for something else at some point, but I think you could assume that every symbol that the Nazi use are now ruined, you know? So, I mean, people just gotta have a stronger stance on these things. Not that I'm the gatekeeper or anything, but, like, if you're truly not a racist, then you should have no problem not having this stuff on your merch and saying, my bad, I didn't really think of it that way, you know? Maybe he just, you know, brain farted, but I don't know. He hasn't said shit, so I think he's gotten shit before, Danzig. So we'll see what happens with that.